Welcome back to Iron Railroad. Today we're going to talk about American Flyer open frame motors. There are various different sizes of American Flyers open frame motors and for various trains and accessories. There are different sizes from small, very small to regulars and even a big motor. We also discuss some of the customized motors made by two different individuals, and that is something to see. But in any case, I just want to show you today the differences in the size motors so that you are familiar with it. So it's just a preliminary, basic, cursory viewing of the different types of motors. So stay tuned, and I will go over to the bench and I will show you what we have here today. First up is the American Flyer number 740 handcar. And throughout this whole discussion, we'll be talking about the vintage open frame motors, and we're not going to be talking about any of the new electronic maintenance-free motors. And again, these are all the vintage ones from the early years of A.C. Gilbert. This is the American Flyer handcar, and it has one of the smallest motors that you see here. And you can tell the size of the motor usually by the width of the field. This is the field, and there's the armature inside. I don't know if you see this. I will show you a better picture of the armature later on. And this is way less than half of an inch. It's probably like, I don't know, 2/3, maybe a quarter of an inch, a little larger than a quarter of an inch, maybe 3/8. It's hard to say, but it's definitely less than half of an inch. In which case, I will bring up the next motor. The next item is the 355 Baldwin diesel. This is considered a smaller motor too, but larger than the handcar motor, and it is a weak motor. It doesn't pull very much, and it tends to overheat a little bit. But again, it's probably because of the linings in the field and also in the armature. But this is definitely weaker than the regular standard small motor. So up next is the actual standard American Flyer motor. And this is a 1/2 inch field. The 1/2 inch motor, as you refer to it. That's the field. This is your armature. Armature goes in, and it's the same. The armature laminations and the field laminations are exactly a 1/2 inch, exactly alike. So it just turns and turns and turns, and that's your open frame motor. It's interesting to note that American Flyer, A.C. Gilbert, actually perfected this enamel-coated copper wire. That protects the wire. Back in the early days, back in the 1930s, I guess, late 30s, A.C. Gilbert patented this enamel-coated wire. I would say Westinghouse, General Electric, RCA, they all tried it, and they all said it cannot be done. You cannot have an enamel-coated copper wire. But through a lot of trial and testing and a lot of time, A.C. Gilbert actually came out with this and its patent. And to this day, a lot of electrical motors, even in the household appliances, they still use the same technology. Although this is actually off patent from A.C. Gilbert, it is used extensively. So this is the 1/2 inch, and this is probably the standard motor for a lot of the American Flyer motors. It would be the 302s, and I have a 302 here just to compare it with. This is the 302. It's a 1/2 inch motor. You'll find this in the 312, the 300 series, all the way up to the 326 Hudsons, and even the big monster Northern. They also have the half-inch motor. It's considered as a small motor, and it is a powerful motor, and it's hooked up to a worm gear. And this worm gear was actually devised during World War II. Instead of using the sprocket gear, the worm gear, this actually exemplifies or magnifies the power coming from the motor. The sprocket gear type motor is not very efficient. This is a lot more efficient, and this worm gear was actually developed for aircraft used in our fighter planes during World War II. So the motor is good with the enamel-coated wire, and of course this makes the entire locomotive that much more powerful. So a small motor goes a long way. But over the years, people says, well, I need more power. I need, the small motor's fine. You can pull 10 cars or 6 cars, whatever. And if depending on the type of rolling stock you have plastic, you can pull a lot more. But sometimes you have the heavy die-cast rolling stock chassis, die-cast chassis, and that's really heavy, such as some of the Searchlights, the early Searchlight with the depressed rolling stock chassis. That's heavy. It's quite heavy. So, it depends. And so anyway, the big motor came out, and I'm going to show you what the big motor looks like. This is from a Hudson 326, and now you can compare the size of the fuel as I explained earlier. The small motor is a half-inch, and the big motor with AC Gilbert's big motor, BIG big motor, is 3/4 of an inch, 5/8 to 3/4 depending on what you have there. But this looks like a 3/4 inch. So this is a big motor, and you can pull a heck of a lot more cars. And some of the big Northern or 332s or 336, I've seen it pull up to like 60 cars, various compositions, plastic and die-cast. So it's good, and of course the pull more tires also helps too. If the locomotive does have it, and in fact, at the opening of this video, you saw my 336 rather, running. And of course, this also has the large motor. This is the large motor. Just to put this into a good perspective, here's the smallest motor, and here's your largest AC Gilbert motor. Notice the size and the width of the field? Quite a difference. I just wanted to bring to your attention that a lot of the early models, for example, this Hudson 322, it never came with a big motor because back then it was just a small motor. You can tell this is the early model post-war, 1940, I guess 1947, 48. So the big motor didn't come into being until the 1950s, mid-50s. However, many folks are able to retrofit a big motor in exchange the small motor for a big motor in the cab. But and this one in particular came with a small motor, and I was able to actually retrofit this with a larger motor. Just in comparison, just want to show you the width of the field. small motor, big motor. And this is possible with the Hudson. You could do it with the Hudson. You could do it with the, he probably could do it with the 312. That would do it, but I'm not sure if you could do it with the 290 series. The Pacifics haven't tried that yet, but I know you could do it with the 312. And in fact, the 313 did come with a big motor, so you could retrofit any of these, the 312s and the Hudsons. And also, of course, the Northern, you could always exchange the small motor for a larger motor. So it works very well. I took the pony truck off just so that you could see the motor. So for those who are interested in having more pulling power for an older engine, you could do it. Next up is the customized motors. There are two people that I have encountered that could make these special customized extra large motors. One is David Baltz, which I met at some train show about 10 or 15 years ago. And he made the original, well, one of his originals is the 1-inch motor, and it's pretty powerful. I mean, it's a lot larger. This is the big motor right here. This is the AC Gilbert big motor, and this is David Balt's large motor. So this is almost, it's like an inch or so. So this is quite powerful. When you have a larger motor, it doesn't necessarily mean that you could go faster, but in fact, the whole idea of having a larger motor is to have more pulling power, more torque. So this will fit into the Northern with no problem at all. It will fit into most Hudsons that I've seen. I don't think it will fit anything smaller than the Hudson, but certainly if you have a very long stretch layout, a lot of track, and you want to pull, I don't know, 60, 80 cars, this may be a motor for you. So this is one that's made from David Baltz, B-A-L-T. So I just want to bring that to your attention. So probably hard to find nowadays, but it's out there somewhere if you look hard enough. Here's another large motor. This one made by David Al Hassack. He's a good friend of mine, now retired, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He made a lot of different types of motors, and his big motor are all custom built motors, and he calls his the Super Duper motor. And the reason why his motor has a lot of torque is that he uses the highest quality magnet type wires, which is one game up from the Gilbert Flyer motors. The Super Duper motor, he added extra laminations to the field and armature, so in effect, he had a 1 1/8 inch to 1 1/4 plate set, and that translates to a lot of high torque and a lot of pulling power. So that's the open frame motor. There is one other that he actually made one time. He called it the Monster motor. It's a 1 inch, but it's only 1 inch. But there's a difference between this and the other open frame motors. He used a 2 1/2-inch direct current motor, DC motors, and he paired it up with an additional set of sort of a piggyback Alnico magnets, ALNICO. So that really translates to a lot of torque and a lot of pulling power. However, the downside with any of these larger motors, according to Al, is the carbon brushes. They need to be replaced quite often because it's just you're pulling a lot of electricity through it. And his remedy was, if you could still find it, actually, is to use the copper flash brushes as opposed to just the ordinary carbon brushes. That would tend to last a little bit longer. So the problem with these oversized motors, sometimes you get sparking and voltage loss through the rail pickups. However, what is good in terms of just using the more quality wires, you can upgrade the handcar motors, rewind the motors with 1 gauge up on that, and that will actually give you some additional longevity and torque with those smaller motors. That's also true with the Baldwin motors. So that's all I have to say about the size of the motors, just to give you a quick down and dirty to what it looks like and what is out there, and so you are familiar with it. Just to add a little bonus to this particular video, and some of you folks have asked me, how do I run my locomotives that usually require a tender for power to the engine, and I'm running these locomotives without the tender. I actually did a video about a year ago how to do this, but since some folks have been asking again, I'm just going to do a quick review on the principles of how to test your locomotives without having the tender for power. And this is not original. This has been in the train world for quite some time, and there's actually a fellow out there who makes these wires to do the testing. And you can do it yourself too, and I made a couple for myself, but it's also available on eBay. But anyways, the principle behind all of this is, especially on the two prong is easy. You have two wires going in, and you hook it up to your transformer, to the base, and also to the 715. You turn the power on, and there you could test your the two prong engines like that. That's easy. But now you have a four prong. So what do you do? What do you hook up the four wires to? You only need to hook up to the 715 and the base, but you got two extra wires, and it won't run. Well, I have a diagram here. Again, this has been around for a while. I just want to show you what it looks like. There's four wires here: the yellow, the black, the red, and this is the green. Okay, so that's easy enough. You put the four wires in there, but how about the other end? Where does all that go? Well, I'm going to explain the principle behind this with a diagram. This is your four-prong jack panel, the female end. You have the four holes. Okay, you have the four wires, right? So the first wire, you have one here that goes to the base, this outside. This wire goes to the base. And this other wire here goes to the 715 transformer posts. That's easy enough. Well, you have two extra wires now. Where's the other two wires? Well, you connect these two wires together as such, like this here. You just connect it together, and that's called the jumper. And that effectively makes it into a two-prong engine again. So where does these wires go? Well, the 715 goes up through here into the field on the right side of the field. So that's the 715. The base post wire goes to one of the brushes here, and of course the other two wires they're cross to each other, and it jumps it together, and there you have it. That's the basics of it. Again, base post, 715. These two wires, easy to do, and then the two wires on the inside. These are the jumpers. Again, this connects to the field. This one connects to one of the brushes on the right side. And of course, the base post, you have the wire connecting to the other brush, the opposite brush. And the 715 post, well, that goes to the right side of the field. So that's it. So again, here we have it. You have the jumper here, the yellow and the green, and then you have the black and the red. One goes to the base post, and the other one to the 715 voltage post. And you turn the power on, and it runs. And that's how you test your four-prong locomotives. Well, now that you see the four-prong wire, the tester, you can make do it yourself and make one of these. It's quite easy. You need some alligator clips on one end, and you have the plugs on the other end. So there you have it. I hope this whole video was informative and perhaps helpful for you for your endeavors in the American Flyer engines and motors and testing it. Well, thank you for watching, and have a great train day. I'll see you next time.